Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Lamia Ali Uzaifa and I'm a student of B.Ed Honors Elementary Part 3. And today the topic of my presentation is non-testing techniques for guidance and counseling, which is assigned by our subject teacher Sir Amjad Ali Arai. Guidance and counseling are concerned with the individual. So for guidance and counseling, the program needs to be carried out very properly and it should be well executed. Non-testing techniques are techniques used in guidance and counseling to collect information about an individual. Non-testing techniques are also called as qualitative techniques. There are four types of non-testing techniques: interview, observation, case study, and questionnaires. So let's discuss the first type, that is interview. Interview has come from the Latin and Middle French word meaning to see between or to see each other. An interview is also called as a conversation with a purpose. The purpose for which interviews are arranged are introductory, fact-finding, evaluative, information, and therapeutic. It means that interview occurs when we need to find some specific facts, or when we need to evaluate something, or when we need to get information about something, or when we need to evaluate something or any individual or any situation. It is one of the most reliable non-testing techniques that can be used to collect information about the individual. The most reliable and most eco-friendly technique of guidance and counseling to find information. And it also establishes direct relationship between the interviewer, the counselor, or the client, the interviewee, or the counselee. There are few types of interview, and why there are types of interview? Because in every situation the interview type is different, the criteria is different, the judgment value is different, the evaluation system is different. And if in the interview the client is dominating that interview, so it will be called, so that interview will be client-centered interview. But if in that interview the counselor is dominating, the interviewer is dominating, so that interview will be called counselor centered interview, or the interviewer centered interview. So the first type is diagnostic interview. It is used to secure information about individual. It is used to find some facts about an individual. Then the second one is administrative interview. The third one is employment interview, which is used in jobs or in employment sector basically. Then the fourth type is admission interview. This interview is used or is conducted to get admission or to get enrolled in any course in any school or in any educational institute. Sorry. The f- this The fifth type is informative interview. It is conducted to find some information about individual or any person or any group of individuals. Then the sixth one is research interview. It aims at discovering facts and figures about a topic, a theory, or a law. Then the second last is counseling interview. This counseling interview is usually used in the field of guidance and counseling. Why? Because it helps the individual to solve the problem or to create a solution or to get out of that problem. The last one is semi-instructing interview. In this interview, the half questions are prepared by the interviewer and the half questions are arose by the answers of that question during the interview. So half are basically scripted questions and half are improvised questions. Then there are following rules or following guidelines that can make an interview a successful interview. The first one is that the interview should be very good at listening and should have a great experience. It means that the interview should not be, it should be qualified, and he or she should have the sense of the problem and how to create a solution of that problem. The second rule is the counselee should feel the need of interview. That it means that the interview should not be pressurized, should not be forceful, but the counselee should feel the need from the heart that I need that interview, I need some counseling or any guidance. Then the third one is the counselor should collect all the data about the client, because if he will get the data, then it will be very easy to conduct an interview or to make questions that will help to create the solution of the problem. Then the fourth is that there should be eco-friendly relationship between the interviewer and the client. The client should feel very homely and very comfortable around that counselor, and he should be trustworthy so that client will answer his or her questions very comfortably. Then the fifth one is that interview should start with cordial and pleasant greetings. When the client arrive, the interviewer should greet her very friendly, so so that the client will not feel very nervous. The client will not feel that this interview is interviewer dominant interview, or he is being pressurized in this interview. Then the sixth one is discussion should be restricted to issues at hand. That it should not be scripted interview. There should be a discussion between both the people. There should some points in the perspective of the interview. There should be some points in the perspective of a client also. Then the seventh one is when the counselor expresses him or herself, he or she should accepted. The counselor will gain nothing by antagonizing or embarrassing the counselee. When the counselor is answering the questions, he or she should not be basically judged. The counselor should understand her opinion, her feelings, her knowledge, and he should not judge the interviewer, basically, client. Then the eighth one is interview should aim at helping the counselee gain insight into the problem and reach solution. The ninth one is the counselee should be allowed to take the lead in making decisions. That it should not be counselor centered. That what the counselor will make the decision, it should be the end. No, the decision could also be made by the interviewer or the counselee. Then the last one is the interview should end with a constructive note. It means that at the end of the interview, there should be a positive review, a positive result of that interview session. And while conducting an interview, there are following areas that should be covered by the counselor. The first one is reason for conducting the interview, previous work history, educational history, hobbies, interest, family situations and background, social activities, physical conditions, self-evaluation of appearance, abilities, and personality. There are four advantages of interview. The first one is it is the best technique to find information about any individual. It is more like a conversation because it is a discussion type of interview. Then the third one is it is very easy to conduct it, or it can be conducted anywhere, wherever the counselor wants, in any environment the counselee wants actually. And the last advantage is it helps the counselee to get an insight and solve the problem. It helps the counselee to get also the perspective of the counselor. He can get two or three perspectives to find a solution of that problem. Then the disadvantages. It is subjective and time consuming. Obviously, time consuming because the counselor collects the data, it takes the interview, it makes a result of that interview. So it is a time consuming interview. Then the second is the interview needs to be conducted with experts. It has to be conducted by a very qualified person. Then the third one is in some cases it is difficult to interpret the result. For example, if the counselor has come for interview and during the questions, but instead of solving that one problem, two or three more problems arise in the interview. So it is always not on the happy ending conclusion basically. And the fourth one is it may not always produce the desired result. As I mentioned in the example, that the counselor has come for the one solution, and between the interview there are three more problems that have been arose. So it always not gives the desired result the interviewer or the counselor wants. The second type is observation. Observation is basically the most effective and most reliable and most commonly used technique to gather any information or data or anything. Observation basically entails observing the behavior of the individual. Behavior is considered to be reflected of the personality, and so when the behavior of an individual is observed, a counselor or a practitioner can learn a lot about the personality of the individual. It means that when observation method is being applied and only an individual, he or she is reflecting his behavior. So when we are observing his or her behavior, we can automatically get the insight of the personality that individual owns, how he learns, how he sits, how he eats, how he talks to each other, how mannerful he or she that person is. So basically observation reflects the personality of the individual. This is a subjective technique, obviously, and it is commonly used in the field of teaching when teachers and especially during the classroom or in the classroom when the teacher is observing many students at one time, he or she can use this method very effectively. There are two types of observation. The first one is natural. It means that in natural observation, the specific behavioral characteristics of the individual in a natural setting are observed. That means that during observation, the individual does not get conscious of someone observing his behavior. It means that it is a observation in disguise, basically. That the observed person doesn't know that he is being observed, and he lives in his own life in his own manner, and the observer can find the observations very natural because he. The second one is participant observation. In this type of observation, the observer becomes a part of the group which he wants to observe. The observer builds a rapport with the group, and the group members are not aware of his intention and so behave in a natural manner. Participant behavior observation is also, we can say, a disguised behavior. That the person who wants to do an observation, he disguises himself as a part of their group, and then he actually observes the people. So in a kind of way, it's also called as natural observation because the people doesn't know that they are being observed. So they are in their own manner or in own behavior. There are four rules or four characteristics that can make an observation a successful observation. The first one is it must be planned. It means that the observer should know that where to start the observation, how to do the observation, how to take notes, how to execute an observation. If these small details are corrected, then it will be a very planned observation. Then the second one is must be properly executed. So if the observation is very well planned, it should be also very well executed. It means the observer should ensure that if all the physical settings are very accurate, and the observer should have the skills to carry out that observation, to execute that observation. Then the third one is it must be recorded. Obviously, what the observer is observing, he or she should record, whether in the descriptive form, or whether in a audio recording, video recording, in any manner. But the observation must be recorded. For why? As a proof to show someone. Then the fourth one is must be interpreted. For it means that whatever the observer has observed, he or should use appropriate tools and techniques to show that observation to someone else in a very well manner, in a very professional manner. When making observation, a counselor or a practitioner must follow the following rules. The observer must be descriptive in taking notes. The observer must gather information from different perspectives. The information collected must be validated and triangulated. The observer must separate description from judgment. Judgment should always be given at the end of the observation, and description can be written between the observation or whatsoever, or the beginning of the observation. The advantages of observation. These are reliable, valid, and scientific. Observation is the most economic method of data collection. Observations can be flexibly used in various situations. And observation can be applied to people of all ages. There is no age limit in observation method. Observation can be applied to groups as well as individual. These do not require much training. Observation is relatively free situation situation one in which the pupil feel the absence of adult pressure may reveal important aspects of the personality. Now, disadvantage of an observation. This is a subjective technique. It means that it's a very time-taking technique, basically. Observation is a highly skilled technique. It is almost impossible for most teachers to spend enough time in observing to enable them to get a well-rounded picture of the child's personality in action. And third disadvantage is these can be used to observe the external behavior and not the internal feelings. Yes, it means that if the individual is feeling sad inside, but he is acting very happy from outside, so observer will observe the happiness, but he cannot detect the inside feeling of the individual. Then the fourth disadvantage is the observation record may not be accurate and may be biased. The last one is sampling and observer error may take place in observation, which makes information invalid and unusable. For example, if the observer had noticed something wrong and he or may have written any wrong information, then it will be affect the information and it will be invalid information. Now, third technique is the case study technique. It basically involves studying about an individual in detail. A case study is a systematic process that aims at complete and intensive study of an individual, including his family, background, physical, social, emotional, and intellectual environment. The case Case study or history is a synthesis and interpretation of information about a person and his relationship to his environment collected by means of many techniques. Case study is basically gathering information from in very detail, in very intensive manner, from the beginning till the present, from the day he was born till the day he is living. It is a very intensive process basically. The case study is employed in a variety of situations. It is an attempt to synthesize and interpret the material gathered by the other technique for the purpose of making an inclusive picture of the individual and of the background factors affecting his life. Case study is an assessment method that typically studies learning difficulties, emotional disturbance, and other behavioral problems that the individual faces in his normal routine, which is detrimental to his overall development. Case study can be used as an assessment method. That means to find any learning difficulty in the student, emotional disturbance. I will give here the example of the movie of Tare Zameen Par, when the student had dyslexia. So the teacher of the student did a case study on his disability. He reviewed all his copies. He met his parents. He took into he questioned the teachers. So he did a case study before coming to that problem and before gaining any solution of that problem. Now there are three types of information that is needed for a case study. The first one is preliminary information. It means that this information is about what is the name of the client, age, sex, parents' age, education, occupation, income, number of children, and social status of that individual. The second type of information is past history information. It means that past history refers to any information that has affected the development of the individual. For instance, information about past history may include information related to the individual's social, physical, mental illness, or relationship with others, or any mental disability, any past trauma experience, or whatsoever. Then third information is present condition. Information about the present condition of the individual may be related to his physical, medical, intellectual, emotional, social, and interest information. So these are three types of information that is needed for the case study. The information so collected is used by a counselor or a practitioner to find out the problem that the individual is going through and also underlying causes of the problem and to find the solution of that problem. There are following steps that is taken while preparing a case study. The first one is locating the case. That what is the basically problem of the individual. Then the second one is forming a hypothesis. Third is collecting the essential information, that past history information, journal information, or whatsoever. Then the fourth one is identifying the factor that creates the problem. It means that while finding the information, in cases the observer or the counselor gains that what is the main point of the problem of that individual, like what is the actual link to that problem of the individual. Then the fifth one is application of remedial measures and treatment to solve the problem. And the last one is follow up to check the effectiveness of the remedial measurement. For example, if one hearing of the case study has been done and the counselor has given some following tips or following remedies to solve that problem. So after a few months or a few days or whatsoever the criteria is, there will be a checkup meetings or a following up meetings to whether check if that are the remedies are working to solve that problem, or is that helpful, or is there any need to change that remedies for a better solution. The main elements of a case study are diagnosis, treatment, and follow-up. Diagnosis refers to identifying the problem by collecting the essential information. Treatment involves application of remedial measures and treatments. Follow-up is done in a case study to know the effectiveness of the measure used to solve a problem. Advantages of case study. It can be used as a basis for diagnosis and treatment of the individual. It gives in-depth information about the individual. It enables a person to make situation adjustments for overall development. It turns client observation into a useful data. It turns opinion into fact. It is relevant to all parties involved. It uses a number of different researchers' methodologies. It can be done remotely. It is inexpensive. It is very accessible to readers. Now, the disadvantage of a case study. It can have influence factors within the data. It takes longer to analyze the data. A case study is a subjective technique. It means that it is a time-consuming technique. It is a difficult method that can be carried out by experts and professionals. Interpreting the results of a case study is also a tough task. It can be an efficient process. It requires a small sample size to be effective. It is a labor-intensive method of data collection. It means it requires very hard work, very time, extreme knowledge to conduct a case study or to find information before the case study begins. Now, the last technique is a questionnaire technique. A questionnaire is a list of questions to be answered by an individual or a group of individuals, especially to get facts or information. It should be elaborated to match with other techniques. Questions are designed to get information about condition and practices about which the respondents are pressured to have the knowledge. Questionnaires can be thought as a kind of written interview. They can be carried out face to face by phone, computer, by or a post or a letter. Questionnaires provide a relatively cheap, quick, and efficient way of obtaining large amount of information from a large sample of people. For example, in an exam, the teacher gives 4 questions, and the 4 questions are answered by 30 people at the same time. So it is relatively cheap and very quick in that way. Then, questionnaire can be effective means of measuring their behavior, attitude, preference, opinion, and intention of a relatively large number of subjects more cheaply and quickly than other method. Types of questionnaire. There are 2 types of questionnaire, that is open-end and closed-end. What is open-end questions? Questions requires the individual to think and write. It is basically, you can say, detail or explaining questions. For example, what is your favorite sport? Open questions allow people to express what they think in their own words. Open-ended questions enable the respondent to answer in as much detail as they like in their own words. If you want to gather more in-depth answers from your respondent, then open question will work better. These give no preset answers option and instead allow the respondent to put down exactly what they like in their own words. Open questions are often used for complex questions that cannot be answered in a few simple categories but require more detail and discussions. For example, there's a question, what is your history? So this question is an open-end question because it cannot be answered within 1 or 2 lines. But in this, the respondent will need his feelings, his own words to answer that question. Then what is close-end questions? The close-end question requires the answer in the form of yes or no or in a limited number of given categories. Close-end questions can also provide original data which can be ranked. For example, are you single? Yes. What is your qualification? Matriculation. So these small one-word answers or 2-line answers are called as closed-end questions. This often involves using a continuous rating scale to measure the strength of attitudes or emotion. For example, strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree, unable to answer. Basically, usually closed-end questions are done in theory or in a research paper when we need very brief answers, but in much we can say that in very categorized manner. That do you like summers? Yes, no. Why? Because of this. One line. That's it. Closed questions structure the answer by only allowing responses which will fit into pre-decided categories. It means there's no the respondent cannot use his mind, cannot use his own wording to answer that question. So these questions are called as closed-end questions. Now, advantage of questionnaire. Questionnaires are inexpensive and very cheap. Questionnaires are practical, and questions are often a quick way to get result. It gives easy analysis and visualizations. Questionnaires offer actionable data. They don't have any time constraint. Well, it means that it's not very time consuming. It can be done within 5 minutes or within 10 minutes. Questionnaires can cover every aspect of a topic. For example, a teacher wants to know a particular detail about a candidate. He will write a few close-end questions and will give only 1 line or 2 line or yes or no option to fill that. So by solving that 5 questions, the teacher will get the desired result. So it can be done in every topic. Now, what are the disadvantages of questionnaire? There can be a dishonest answer. There can be lie in the answers, and there are some questions that can be unanswered, that cannot be given by the candidate or the respondent. Then differences in understanding and interpretation. It is hard to convey feelings and emotion because in yes or no you can't express what you feel. Then some questions are very difficult to analyze or to understand. Respondent may have a hidden agenda, or may he have a hidden purpose. He may be lying, or he wants to do something else, but he is lying to the teacher or to the interviewer or whatsoever. Then there will be lack of personalization. It means that there is no testing of the attributes of the personality or of the behavior of the candidate. This question is only to get the information of the topic, the desired topic. That's it. That's all about the techniques, non-testing techniques of tool and guidance. Thank you so much.